Hi everyone. Today we did get a bit of a bounce at the level. 585.91 was the low. We came right to that level. You can see the bounce here through that next level. The next one 597.63. But let's take a quick look at some of the other charts because the market was actually a little bit stronger than I thought that it would be today. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. In news today, we got the Trump administration saying they are going to pause Social Security benefit cuts over the defaulted student loans. This did just come out and markets are kind of chopping around on this news. So interesting, brand new breaking news. They said they're going to garnish people's wages. However, they did say that they are still committed to protecting those on a fixed income. So little bit of mixed messaging. Understand that these people are probably not on Social Security at this point, but it would come out of their Social Security benefits, which I guess is fair. If you owe money to the government, they probably shouldn't be paying you out a benefit when you still owe them other money. Moving over to the Fear and Greed Index, basically unchanged, 61 to a 63. This continues to climb here. Extreme fear still on momentum. Everything else either in greed or neutral or above here. Volatility did continue to kind of grind lower, but it has not taken out this previous low, and it's not really at a settled level yet. Safe haven demand, junk bond demand does not care at all about what's happening. Both of those still in extreme greed. So everything still looks quite bullish across the board. Moving over to that seasonal calendar here, you can see it's supposed to be bullish for the Monday, and that's what we got. Supposed to be bullish for tomorrow, and that's what we're looking for. And then bearish for the Wednesday. We'll see if that comes through. That's what we were looking for based on the weekend video as well. So far so good on seasonality. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see manufacturing PMI a little bit worse than expectation there as prices continue to stay relatively high. Construction spending also not super great. Manufacturing PMI also a little bit lower than expectations. We did have Fed Powell speak. He didn't say anything super interesting, same stuff as always. And then for tomorrow, CPI for the Eurozone, JOLTS job openings, that could be interesting, as well as the ADP non-farms on Wednesday, global services PMI also on Wednesday, non-manufacturing PMI also on Wednesday. So not a whole lot of data, but a fair amount. Nothing that should really move the markets too much until the Friday where we get the new unemployment rate. And then moving over to the charts here, we've had this kind of topping pattern for a while, and we pushed right back to the top of it, up about 0.5% here, right to these highs. The next level is 597.63, and we did close back above 591.09, so really strong level. Came back to 585.91 and then pushed through that next level. Momentum stepping back to bullish. RSI still here as a potential resistance. We're waiting to see if that comes to reality or not. Had a little bit of choppiness after hours. You can see really strong during the session. Came down, retraced, touched that level 591.09. That was the resistance here on the Friday session, and you can see we are in the middle of these EMAs and SMAs. Could have gone either direction here. We did get a little bit of a gap down. I thought we would go at least to this low here, maybe down to the trends in here, but we ended up holding the level here, pushing through to that next one. Now we're retesting, looking for that continuation to 597.63 based off of the price action that we got here today. Moving over to the Tasty charts, this is a broken records chart. We've been talking about it here. I've been saying this resistance is major resistance, 594.85. We have not closed above it on a weekly basis for the last month. Are we going to get another test of it? It does seem like we will, and then we'll see what happens from there. If we reject again, that is going to be a full month of not being able to get above this level. This looks like a lower high setup. If this rejects from here conclusively, then we're looking for a much bigger move down, but so far that has absolutely not happened. And looking at it on the 4-hour chart, this is still bullish. We did come back in, test some of these levels, and get a continuation here. So if we do get a nice continuation to that upper band, your price target would be 604.13. Last time we hesitated here at the second band. Right now that's 599.22. Moving over to the NASDAQ, same thesis here, up almost 1% right to the level 523.24. We closed at 523.21, so just barely below it. But again, in the after hours, we got a nice really push through there after hours. And then after that, we did retrace here on the 17 and 1800 candles here, throwing some wicks down. I'm probably getting head faked here, which is unfortunate because I thought this was going to be a rejection zone. We overthrew it. We took out this high back here. And structurally, if you look at it, you do have kind of a rising wedge style pattern. You do have a bullish triangle style pattern, multiple tests of this level, higher low, higher low, higher low, eventually leading to a breakout ultimately. So far that has not happened. We have not gotten real confirmation of that. And the fact that we tried to break out so strongly here on the NVIDIA earnings just to reject and go to a lower low here is definitely concerning. So now you have a high, potentially lower high, the low, potentially lower low, waiting to see what happens there. You also have a consolidation of EMAs, meaning this could break in either direction. But today was pretty strong coming off of that weakness that we saw on the Friday. Moving over to the Tasty charts here for the NASDAQ, we are right at that key level. The trailing stop here, 524.09, and we are right at that level, testing it again here today. Still cannot close above it. We had this fake out with the NVIDIA earnings. I would argue this is still your resistance there, and it continues to be resistance. You can see I did end up putting on shares there at the end of the session, which is why I say I think I'm going to get head faked. But right now it is technically bullish conditions. You could argue low, higher, low here. We did come down and test that 55 EMA and then get the continuation higher off of that test back above the 9 EMA. You can also see these ATR bands starting to curl up here to the downside, starting to curl up a little bit to the upside. Maybe this rising wedge is going to break out, but for now it has not done it quite yet. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, this is more of a triangle pattern here. You can see higher lows and lower highs wedging up here, still looking for that clear direction. Momentum is bearish, and we have not broken down yet. I was really hoping we would pull back, get a retest of the 55 EMA around 198. Then we'll see what happens from there, maybe get a continuation, or if it breaks down, then we're looking for a much lower low. But so far that has not happened. We had a big move down here, 3 days, big gap up, big rally, tested some of those levels today, and then did manage to stay positive on the session, still kind of wedging up in here with no clear direction. And then similarly here on the Dow, nice push up, got above some of these levels here, mostly the highly traded zone, the 200 SMA, 421.97, the trend line in there getting above those, closing on the high, which is good, but the momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish, no clear direction on the indicators. But so far this pullback in time has held up really well if that's ultimately what it becomes. Moving over to the Mag 7 here, you can see the Mag 7 also having a good day, still cannot seem to get above 315 here, got close 313, pulling back just a smidgen after hours. Momentum RSI, same thesis as we've been watching. Is this the point where it starts to roll, or are we going to get a big acceleration through this level and continuation back towards those all-time highs around this kind of 330 to 340 area? We are already very extended, but that doesn't mean anything. Of course, markets can absolutely go higher, but it does put the probabilities closer to that retracement, which is what we've been looking for. Just hasn't materialized so far, and everything today did look quite strong. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, you got Apple continuing to rally a little bit off of that Friday session towards these kind of EMAs around the 203 area, just cannot seem to get above this. Still very much in this consolidation. We're actually right in the middle of it. Is this going to be another lower high here? I suspect that it will. And then looking at Microsoft continues to be very, very strong. Did not even test the support here at 453.30. Closed right on the high, still in this same kind of trading range we've been in. The momentum has said bearish, RSI super overbought, but just does not move any lower. And at this point, it seems like we're going to go to that 466.57 level, which is your all-time high. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla was down about 1%. They continue to see diminishing returns on Elon's political career, and they are suffering there. NVIDIA, on the other hand, has returned to a little bit of bullishness after the bearishness we saw on the Friday. You have the big earnings, hit that key level, rejected, retraced all of the move, and now we're up a little bit right at the highs of this consolidation pre-earnings. The level here is still 140. If we can go through that 140 level, 149 is the next one, and that takes you very, very close to these all-time highs. The concern here for me has been, is this a left shoulder head, right shoulder? And I don't think that that is completely ruled out here. You can see the EMAs have consolidated, the long-term EMAs. If this accelerates through there to the downside, that's going to be terrible. You can also see on the SMA for the RSI, we are well below it, showing a lot of weakness, much lower RSI versus price. Price has been pretty much right at the most recent highs, wherein the actual RSI peak was back here on 14 May. So something else to consider, clear divergence on price and RSI. Moving over to Meta and Broadcom. Haven't talked about these in a while, but look at this candle here, 3.62%. It's been a massive turn. You can see big move down, double bottom, clean at the level, 489.67, and then we had a massive run from that low to high. That was about 35%, absolutely huge. And then you can see we are breaking above that high now today with today's candle. Does this head back to the all-time highs around 730? Potentially. There's also a gap left here from the 18th to the 19th, but Meta, huge outperformer, big relative outperformance, carrying markets higher a lot in my opinion. And then looking at Broadcom, also up 2.74%, right at your all-time highs. Again, another major move from low to high. That was about 77%, absolutely massive for sure, and that continues to drift higher in the after hours. So these are continuing to do well, and if the markets are going to go higher, these stocks need to do well also. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, both of these having a pretty good day. Staples continues to look very, very strong. It was down a little bit mid-session, but then we pushed back through that level, 82.53 headed towards 83.43. Still believe that it's going to go higher here, momentum bullish, RSI bullish. And then looking at discretionaries, nice little push, came down to the level 210, touched the level, continuation higher after the Friday session, encompassing all of that move, headed back towards 215. Again, this looked like a topping pattern, but it's taken a long time to consolidate. We said this 21 EMA might take a couple more days to consolidate, might be all week ultimately. So right now looks a little better today than it did on Friday. Moving over to real estate and gold. Real estate continues to be kind of in this upper range of the buy range. Anything below 41, really below 40 is ideal. Up here, it's kind of a hold in my opinion. Continues to look okay, not breaking down, but really the more interesting story here is gold. This looks like a clean bull flag, and this looks like a breakout here. Are we going to get a re-acceleration on gold? Seems like an interesting opportunity. Will gold go higher? Where will it end up going? At this point, you would expect a push at least to kind of 330, I think makes sense. You can see the rally here into it. If you take the move there, that's about 40 points. 40 points from here, that would take you to this kind of 336 to 340 area. So something to consider. Gold, is there another 10% in it? Potentially. Moving over to breadth. Market breadth continues to fade here. Very interesting. You can see a lower low on 20-day, came down to the 3660 level and then ended up bouncing right back to that 50 level. So a lot of volatility on breadth here as we kind of continue to grind slowly lower, but price continues to go higher, which again is very concerning, but price has been very strong and it still looks like that rising triangle though. So definitely mixed signals, and we're continuing to watch both and react quickly to price. Moving over to the dollar continues to be quite bearish here. You can see continues to sell, momentum, RSI, everything looks bearish on the daily chart, clearly broken below the levels. Now we're headed back towards this most recent low around 97, and it continues to look like it'll go there, and then the next level 96.85. You can see the gap down, a little bit of a retracement, probably going to continue to sell. It is showing just a smidgen of bullishness on the indicators, but price action still says bearish. Moving over to bonds. Bonds did sell a little bit here today. TLT back down 1.2, 1.3%, somewhere in there. And then you can see the level 85.90, we're back below it. Momentum stepping back down. You had a nice little run here over a couple of days. Now we're back down a little bit. Bonds retracing, again, a little bit more buying opportunity. Maybe I'll look to buy in here a little bit more tomorrow, depending on what we see. But either way, this is a long-term play, not a short-term one. Moving over to my accounts, you can see I did put on those shares on the end of the session at a terrible price. Above the closing price, I thought we might get a little bit of continuation as we did get above that level. Pushed pretty well above it, and then we just rejected from there. You can see 522.50 after hours, so about $1 on those shares. Still have plenty of protection here if I did decide to hold on to it. Still bullish on the deltas, but we'll see. Realistically, I still believe that there is going to be some weakness in markets, but that rising triangle does continue to show a lot of strength. So willing to see if that plays out or not, which I think for now is the most likely scenario. It does look like a strong rising triangle. So slightly bullish, even with the retracement here after hours. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of Trump's move on Social Security and the student loan move. Is that the right move? How will it affect markets? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.